society. Info superhighway interaction.
So let's show you some of that right now. It's pretty much the mainstay of what this type of animation is used for. What I'm going to show you is a piece which was done by Santa Barbara Studios for Paramount. This is part of the Voyager opening, the Star Trek Voyager, on the UPN network every Monday at 8 o'clock, I think, at least in my time zone. We see the Voyager going through this interstellar gas cloud right here, pushing the particles out of the way, and the particles are actually swirling back around behind the ship. It's a very natural thing to do, but if you were to try and keyframe something like this, I wish you luck. I wouldn't attempt it myself. So let's go ahead and jump inside here and show you how this was put together by Santa Barbara Studios. We're looking at a grid of particles right here initially. And what I want to do is I want to focus on the shield, which is doing most of the work inside that animation. If some of you are Trekkies, you might know about this. The vehicle has a shield around it, an invisible force field, which is actually protecting the ship, which is the main focus of this animation. So what I'm going to do is I want to go out and create that shield. I'm going to place that down interactively using a mouse offset to define its velocity. Basically that means I want the particle to be here and I want it to move in this direction. So when I play this back, you'll watch this little shield fly across the screen. Okay, so now we have something that would be a shield, but you notice it's not pushing anything yet. Very easy to do. I just go out here to my wizards and I want to put a radial field on the shield which affects the gas cloud. A radial field is something that pushes away from itself. Very easy. So when I play this back now, I should have a shield pushing particles out of the way. Okay, now this is much like a billiard table though. I'm hitting the little balls and they're flying straight away. There's nothing to pull them back in behind me to get that swirl going on. So what I want to do for that is I want to go out now and I want this guy to emit some eddies or vortex creators. So I'm going to go ahead and start the emission process by selecting that object. So when I play now, you'll see these little vortexes starting to come off. I just need to let the system know that they are vortexes, so these are now vortexes which will affect the gas cloud. So let's play this back now. You see it's pushing the particles out of the way, but it's also pulling them back in behind it. Let's try that one more time. So you see how they're turning around these little particles now, they're being sucked around it. Right here. Give me these nice little swirly kind of effects going on. Really soft, really pretty. Okay. Let's go ahead now. And we need one more thing, and that's the actual vehicle itself. So let's go out now and bring in the geometry for the Voyager. There's a little wireframe representation right there. Let's go ahead and make that a nice, pretty Federation kind of white color and shade that. Now, the last thing I need to do at this point is take the ship and have it do the same thing the shield is doing. Move with it effectively. So what I want to do is just go ahead and connect the ship with its shield. Okay, so now they're going to go ahead and move together. And if I play this back, you see they actually have the same velocity. Okay, let's go ahead and rewind this, and what I want to do at this final point is just put the ship right where the shield is. Right like that. Let's go ahead and save that. Now, I also don't want to, the shield is an invisible force. I don't want to see this little point out here pushing things out of the way. I could display it other ways, but I'm just going to go ahead and turn it off. So I'm going to select that little shield and render it invisible by selecting off. And there's also those little vortexes coming off. There's one of them right there. I'll grab that one. And I'll also turn that off. So the end result gives me something like this. Okay, we're getting fairly close to the final result right now. Now let's go ahead and get these out of my way for right now. Let's go ahead and rotate our camera, get a little more dramatic angle, something like this. Getting tight there. Now, this is a pretty thin grid of particles. It's not a whole lot. A lot of these animations, when people use these special effects, they have thousands, hundreds of thousands, even millions of particles. When Santa Barbara Studios did this final piece, they had 600,000 separate particles, I think, which isn't a whole lot because I know on the movie Last Action Hero there's a scene where the boy is hanging on the gargoyle's head over an alley and it's raining on him. And there was no rain there, that was all synthetic. If you actually ever see the movie again, you'll notice the boy's hair is completely dry, a little continuity error there. But they had 3.2 million rain particles in that scene, okay? Just an inordinate number of rain particles. So we actually want to spiff up this number right here to make it look more like a cloud right now, because that's pretty thin, obviously. So let's go out and change the display of these particles. I'm going to go ahead and select those. And I want to make the display, instead of just a single point, I'm going to use a jittering technique. What the jitter allows me to do is use 15 particles, or whatever number I specify, for each given particle. And what it's going to do is going to take those little particles and place those randomly around where the original particle was. So now I get a little more of a cloud look right now. Again, it's still very particulate though. Okay, we can actually see all the discernible points. Now I'm going to actually take advantage of the Silicon Graphics hardware. There's something on these boxes called an accumulation buffer. Basically what that's going to do is going to take the image and sample it however many times I tell it and composite all those together. So it's going to take the image, jitter those particles, do it again, jitter them again, just keep doing this as like 5 or 6 times, and then it'll composite all those together to give me a more gaseous look. Let me go ahead and turn the accumulation buffer on, render out to my frame buffer, choose a resolution. I'm going to use digital video here, and you see it's going to do multiple passes on the same image over and over, and when it gets done with all those, it puts them all together and gives me the soft gaseous look. Okay, so now we have something that looks a lot more like a cloud. Now, we're using a particle or a single point jitter mode. There's some other display modes you could actually use to have some fun also. Let's go out here and say I wanted to, instead of using a jitter, use a streak jitter, which actually uses a velocity, so each of those little particles has a tail on it. Let's go ahead and give it a fade out and a tail size here. And let's re-render this again, and you see they actually have length now. Okay, so there's a lot more visually stunning kind of thing. We can actually go a step further and use the hardware anti-aliasing, and the particles that actually aren't moving, I can get those to almost fade out completely using that. So let's turn on the anti-aliasing and re-render this again. You see the other particles are almost completely gone now, where only the ones that are moving are really showing up. All these little display modes really help you out, get different kinds of effects going on. Okay, what I'm going to do at this point is just go ahead and show you the final piece, which was done by Santa Barbara Studios. And if you watch in there, you're going to see a whole lot of Dynamation. There are comet tails, there are solar flares swinging out, and obviously this wake and some other clouds going on. So let's go ahead and take a look at that piece real quick here. Let me just go ahead and switch you back to the LVR and start that again from scratch. Turn up the volume here. Enjoy this.